Welcome back to our 2-hour special coverage. Actually, Fox News is 24/7 on this story now. The cruise missile attacks on the Libyan air defenses. We have totally become part of the civil war in Libya. Is that a good or bad thing? I guess you could have your various opinions about that, but there is no doubt but that we are in it. We are joined now. Waleed Faris is in D.C., the Fox News Middle East expert. And here in New York, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense under President Reagan, K.T. McFarland, who helped write the doctrine on limited war with specific objectives. Welcome all. And they join our already distinguished panel. So how are we doing so far?
I'm very concerned because I don't think there's a clearly, there's a clearly defined objective. The clearly defined objective, at least in the UN terms and what President Obama has said, is we want to protect the innocents. Well, there's nothing about regime change. It's nothing about, they've said we'll take all measures to protect the innocents. But what happens next? I mean, I think the military part will be just great. That'll go very well. But then what do you do? Who do you hand the government over to? Do you wait? Do you topple Gaddafi? Do you not topple Gaddafi? If you do topple him, what's the next government? Is there going to be an occupation? Who has the occupation? Well, insurgency. And then I think, Geraldo, my biggest worry about all this is the precedent. We are now in a civil war, in the middle of a civil war. Not because we're there in a self-defense position. We're there because we're trying to protect civilians. That's a great goal. But tell me how that doesn't be this. We're not then called in to do Iran, Syria, any other country.
Yemen. More people died in Yemen yesterday than ever in Libya. But we're in it.
We're in it.
Should we be in it to have regime change now?
Well, now that we're in it, I think that's the only goal you've got. Because Gaddafi is
unconditional surrender or the death of Gaddafi.
Yeah, I think Gaddafi dead or alive. Because if not, then Gaddafi's going to go do what the Taliban did in Afghanistan and what Saddam Hussein. He's going to go underground. He's going to have an insurgency. You'll have this thing go on and on and on. He's not going to surrender because he knows he goes to the international criminal courts.
That's for sure. We're going to have much more on the dramatic developments here. But I want to go to Molly Hindenburg, our Molly Hindenburg in D.C., because I want, Molly, if you don't mind, to tell us more about the extraordinary meeting that happened in Paris today.
Right. The Secretary of State Hillary Clinton met in Paris with 22 leaders to discuss the diplomatic angle of this. And also President Obama in Brazil, he said the U.S. will provide, quote, limited military action in Libya. And at this point, that means a limited mission to disable Libya's air defense systems. The president has been hesitant to get involved in Libya, but he says the U.S. will act to support military action by a, quote, broad coalition of countries. And he says that the U.S. will not be deploying ground troops to Libya. The president says the U.S. cannot stand, quote, idly by as Gaddafi attacks his own people. Geraldo?
Molly, thank you. Waleed Faris, do you agree with K.T. McFarland that it's all or nothing now, that we have to go all in?
It's all about interpreting Resolution 1973. If the mission, Geraldo, is to just stop Gaddafi from taking Benghazi and degrading his capacities, it's been done and it will be done. But if the mission is about a regime change, let's talk about regime change. It means that we will control the air, we will hit Gaddafi's forces on the ground, and we will rely on the opposition forces, those forces that are today in Benghazi. The question I have, can they march? Can they be the infantry under our air support all the way to Tripoli and bring down Gaddafi? The second question, what is Gaddafi's plan in this case?
My answer is no, they can't. It's one thing to have kids with AK-47s shooting in the air and celebrating. It's another thing to take on we know he has two tough professional brigades, that's 6,000 fighters with their armor standing between Benghazi and Tripoli. There's no way those kids are going to do that. I don't believe, Waleed.
Well, I think the second most important point that KT made is really beyond that. Even if we put special forces a little bit and back and we allow them to do so. What will happen after the collapse of Gaddafi? There'll be multiple forces. We don't know really the leadership of that opposition. So my concern today is for us to know more about that leadership, to work more with them and to see that they're going to establish a democratic government if Gaddafi would fall.
Okay, let me go to Congressman Devin Nunes in Fresno. We only have a minute before the next break, Congressman. But what would you have us do?
I think there's one thing you're missing, Geraldo, that I'd like to see some of your experts comment on at some point here tonight, and that is WMDs. We know this is a country for a long time that tried to get their hands on nuclear weapons and other WMDs, and we don't exactly know what they have. So there is a proliferation argument here.
We know he has mustard gas.
Right, so this is something that we have to be concerned about too. So it's not just taking out Gaddafi, it's who comes in to replace Gaddafi and what happens to proliferation of these weapons.
All right, let me take a quick break, folks. We have much more. We'll be live.